Hey folks, this is Ben Gussel. How's it going? Part three here. Some thoughts here on summer night. As I go throughout these videos, I might get calmer. I might not, but chances are I'll probably get a little bit calmer as I explain certain thoughts. The overall goal maybe being that when I actually send an email to my cousin tonight, that'll be probably a little bit more level-headed, perhaps. And let's just talk for a sec about this being emotional, right? And full of emotions and thoughts and feelings and whatever it is, versus being level headed. I really think that that's probably the direction I should head in this video. And again, this is all very improv. This is, as you know, this is not, I haven't thought about this before, and this is on the spot, on the fly. And by the way, speaking on the fly, on the spot, is not something that comes very easily to a lot of folks that have more severe Asperger's or autism. And if you only have it mildly like myself, it gets easier as you get older. But it's not something that comes often very naturally to somebody like myself. Anyway, anyway, that being said, again, I can only speak from my personal experience when I feel like I'm more level-headed about something versus emotional. When I had a healthy breakfast, you know, consider that however you want to, because we still have the debate about, well, what's a healthy breakfast? Oh boy. And my hundreds of videos about nutrition, which you can watch if you want to or not if you don't want to, and all the thousands and probably millions of health videos on YouTube and all the stuff that, So I'm just saying, man, you had a breakfast that you were where you were ingesting some vitamins and minerals in some way, shape, or form that would help you mentally to be able to perform okay during the day. Let's just say some kind of breakfast like that, as opposed to say, you know, Skittles and juice. I think that juice has vitamin C, but yeah, I mean, Skittles and juice, don't it? Oh man, yeah. So that's what I'm talking about. So, um, oh, the land of sugar to be a kid again. But yeah, I never really had a ton of candy as a kid. I didn't. I didn't. Okay, so yeah, but you have some protein in your system. You have all the brain, all the things your brain needs to be in good shape. And let's say, you're in a class that's not stressful for you, you do well in it. The teacher asks you a question, you know the answer, and you say the answer, and, you know, nobody thinks anything of it. They think it's pretty cool, and maybe you have a few class clowns or a few whatever that are like, yeah, whatever. But they're not so bad. They're not so mean. They're whatever. It's fine. And you take it all in stride, and after class, you go next class, and then you. I think I may be thinking more junior high, high school. Sorry, maybe originally I was thinking more elementary school, but basically, let's just say you're talking about elementary school, being level-headed as a kid, elementary school. So it's time for recess. So you're outside and you have, hopefully you have a few friends. You should have a few friends at some point, hopefully. So one of your friends is not feeling level-headed. They're feeling very emotional. And they're just telling you all kinds of stuff. Oh, I hate this, I hate that, or whatever it is, they're talking a whole bunch. And you're listening. You're mostly listening, and you say certain things to help them feel better, and you're trying to understand what's happening, so try to help them to remedy whatever's going on. And you're trying not to get too upset about the thing that they're really upset about, because maybe it is very upsetting. When I've been level-headed, sometimes I think to myself, oh man, in this case, I know what's going on. Right? There's kind of this understanding of what's happening. Understanding is so key. It's so key to being more level-headed. I can't tell you guys enough a greater understanding helps you be more level-headed. Because if you don't have that understanding, it can be very hard to be level-headed. You have to rely on your inner calm, your spiritual stuff, inner calm, and your psychological, well-being. If you don't understand something that someone's talking about as well as you'd like to, but you say at some point, "Oh, I know what's going on." If it's a bully, this kid is mean to everybody, or he's picking on kids because he's it's like a physical thing. He's bigger. He likes to fight. He enjoys fighting. But maybe he enjoys fighting also because he's been abused, mistreated also. So it's also, there's an emotional component. There generally is. Really, I mean, if you're talking about really hurting kids, not just wrestling around, not just horror. If you have a really big guy that likes to wrestle, they don't want to hurt anybody. They just like to be the big guy. But they always shake hands and they always say, "That was a good fight," or "That was a good wrestling." They're always respectful. The big guy that does that, or the tough guy that is a wrestler, or whatever it is, really. It could be martial arts, boxing. They always shake hands. It's nothing personal because there isn't that emotional component. And so you could say, actually, on that level, for those guys that are bullies, or not bullies, but let's say those guys that fight, but they're not bullies, they just fight. They're level-headed about it when it's just, hey, I just like fighting. I just like wrestling. I'm a big guy. It's fun. I don't mean to hurt anybody, and I try not to hurt anybody, but I like to pin them down, right? So you have a wrestling team. There's reasons why we want guys to be so tough on some level. So hey, sure, that's perfectly healthy, fine, good, so long as you have weight classes and you have so yeah. But let's say that's an emotional component. So whatever happened to your friend, that's very emotional, right? They're opening up to you. This person is scary to them, or they're avoiding that person. And maybe they really humiliated your friend. They made him feel like a wimp. Anyway, there's that whole train of thought. And you understand on some level that it's, oh, this guy's bigger, and maybe he's been treated very poorly by his own parents. He's also been abused, perhaps. That's what's going on. But you don't really know that as a kid so much. You just know that this kid's a bully, right? So you offer, the solution would be, oh, he's held a teacher, right? Whenever, I'll stick by your side. I'm going to stick up for you if this guy gives you a bad time. You can count on me, kind of thing, right? That's often a solution. If you tell a teacher, it usually is the solution when you're in elementary school. Well, okay. So what if it's, is an emotional person, and you get into your teens and it's like, oh, it's what often it's about girls or boys, right? It's dating, right? That person likes me, doesn't like me, they hurt my feelings. That's generally what we're talking about, right? Not always. But, I mean, heck, it could also be something like, with regard to music, if someone's very upset because somebody else was much better at them musically and they just didn't like that could be very upsetting. Yes. And so when you hear this emotional stuff coming from somebody, when you're friends, and they're saying, I don't like how this other person is so arrogant and snobby, but they're so good, and yep. Whatever it is, once we understand it, what it's really going on, and we think we do, right? But the better we truly understand something, the more that, oh yeah, it's not hard to be level-headed here, because we understand what's going on. If we think we understand what's going on, but that isn't really what's going on, that other person might be upset with us because that other person wants a fix. They want things to be better, but they won't be all that upset with us because we at least listen to them, right? But a lot of people aren't and this is of course the case, it's not just when you're teens, obviously this is like for everybody, all adults. It's like we're often not fully aware of how much understanding we have of something to begin with. Simple matters, yes. Complex matters, not really. But some of us get better at knowing more about a complex matter with time and with maturity and with, I think on some level, this is where we get to the level of, like, say, especially apostles, like church, in my opinion, my belief, the apostles, with prayer, with humility, of course, asking God about this stuff. Yeah. I mean, they're the people to go to, but it's so hard. I mean, so yeah. Anyway, that whole stake president bishop thing. Anyway, so a lot of questions about stuff, but anyway, so the thing is, so that's on the side of being level-headed. When you're level-headed, or when I've been level-headed, it's always when I've had a lot of nutrients in my system. I've had full 8 hours of rest, whatever it is. I've had plenty of rest, a regular sleep cycle. I'm really, I'm pleasant. I'm at peace with myself. There's nothing really super emotional going on with me at the moment. I'm able to kind of just be even keel. Now, here's the trick of this. When I've been more emotional, and on some level, that's just going on all the time. At least as a sensitive composer, romantic, right? Being romantic at heart, being sensitive, being a composer, being emotional and sensitive and creative and imaginative and visually immersive about stuff. You just can't help but be super sensitive about things in your life. And we try to be level-headed all the time, but sometimes it's just a futile effort. We just have to let it all out. Sometimes. I don't know. Everybody's different this way. But, there are certainly things that would cause somebody, even like myself, of course, to be a lot more emotional. Of course. Of course. There are people, of course, that are far more emotional than me, far more scattered, far more all over the map, mood swings. And you guys, if you think you know the reasons why all this happens, it's probably just an teensy speck of all the possibilities of why people could be, in whatever way, shape, or form, more crazy, emotional, animated, louder voice, whatever. And when I'm more, we say upset. We think, oh, this person's upset. Well, what do we mean? There's sadness, deep despair, depression, loneliness, right? These kinds of moods. Hopelessness, right? Sense of impending doom. All the spiraling trains of thought that could lead to suicide even. It gets really stinking dark in terms of spiraling trains of thoughts that way. There's also anger, all the attendant emotions, frustration. There's also fear. But fear is something that we just don't tend to experience as often the older we get. Now, when we do experience it, I think it's a very memorable thing in our lives, because I think we tend to probably experience, most of humanity, I would think, would probably tend to experience sadness or anger quite a bit more than fear. Quite a bit more. But maybe fear more often than we might realize. Maybe. Especially with social anxieties. Social things. I bet you there's fear going on, we just don't recognize it. Just saying that. And so when I've been more emotional, I'm talking to people, we're not always aware that how emotional we are. It's only on retrospect, looking back, like, oh, I was a little bit emotional, wasn't I? Yes, I guess I was. Someone say, yes, you were. And whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, it's often kind of a, you know, it is what it is, I guess. But you guys understand that the best music, the best a lot of things, are often, they're often produced when somebody is experiencing some kind of strong emotion. It's often positive, or it's often negative, but it's often something in between too. But whatever it is, it's very, very strong. Sometimes it's so strong they just have to get it down on paper if it's music or art, whatever it is. But strong. It's as strong or even stronger than sex drive. I mean, not to be vulgar, but it's like, this is. Oh, one second, folks. I'm gonna check something here. Sorry. No, I think I'm fine. I'm fine. But oh, my train of thought here. Where is it going? Just for a second here. For a second, I thought I had. I don't know. Just trying to make sure my phone is okay. I'm sure it is. I guess one of my trains of thought is that we're not often as in control of ourselves with these very strong emotions. And there's a lot of speculation, of course, as to the morality of these strong emotions. Because when you lose more control over yourself, which I understand this very keenly having Asperger's syndrome, I know very keenly those times when I felt so emotional that I feel like I'm not quite, it's just a different state of being. Is that a negative thing or is that a positive thing? I don't know. It depends. But probably 2/3 of the time, most people would say it's more of a negative thing, because our society, we're so drilled into our heads, to be level-headed, right? Why is being level-headed the way to be? It's the way to be in China. It's the way to be in Korea. Kind of. The soap operas and music can be very emotional. Yeah. But still, too level-headed is still the way to be. Japan, level-headed. The Southeast Asia, countries. Thankfully, there's more of a mix, I think. But still, India, is a mix. But I think level-headedness is probably the dominant value. Obviously, Eastern Europe, level-headedness. Yeah, you would think, emotional, right? Yeah. but and then where in Europe is it more admirable to be more emotional? Italy, right? Greece. Stereotypes, right? As stereotypes go. Spain, maybe, but especially Italy and Greece. And the Middle East, kind of. Yes. These stereotypes. Oh, yeah, I don't know. The emotional Mediterranean, as opposed to the level-headed Nordic person, or the level-headed Indian. And then Latin Americans often prefer to be more emotional rather than level-headed, I guess. As sweeping generalizations, right? Well, what I'm trying to say is that, well, I guess Africa is, of course, more emotional, but still, it's a level-headed argument. It's kind of both, but okay. What I'm trying to say is, Polynesian is emotional, maybe. I don't know. Spiritual. But the thing is that, especially in our Eurasian, we'll say Eurasian, in the Eurasian developed world, especially. Oh man, being level-headed. We gotta be level-headed. Why? Because there's all these things we need to do in life. The checklist. get this accomplished. Work, 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 work. No time for this stuff. No, we gotta think about things to do. That was the way. I mean, that is the dominant ethic between the two. It was never, let's talk about our feelings all day. Let's write music and paint and be hipsters, but maybe in a LDS or conservative way, and just be really super empathetic with everybody, and just everything can be on hold. Let's live life spontaneously, and just go out in nature and just frolic with the butterflies. And I'm being a little corny here, but what I'm trying to say is, no, that was not my life. My life was, we have things to do. That was probably the way life was for you too. The way life is for most people is, we got things to do. We got to be level-headed. So what I'm trying to say is that if somebody ever does go kazoo, completely kazoo, right? Because they just keep everything so bottled up. They can't, for whatever reason, get whatever is in them out. So they go kazoo, like in Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? That's a problem. How many times do people go kazoo because they're being super obedient and super hardworking, and they're doing everything they're supposed to be doing. They're paying their taxes and they're whatever their checklist is on, whatever's on their checklist, right? Or whatever is put on their checklist by their parents or by their bosses or by whoever. They're checking them off and they're being a good person. But at the end of the day, what do they ever get to talk about their feelings? Do they ever get to, maybe. That's a problem. It's not right. But you say, oh, that's just life, Ben. Oh, there's no getting around to that. What I'm trying to also say by all this is that this person is more level-headed. This person is more emotional. We say Jeff Goldblum is so pleasant and even keel. I can guarantee you that Jeff Goldblum has had those moments of being emotional. If he was never upset by anything, or if he was never emotional about anything, I'd question if he was actually human. And you can just keep going down the list in this regard. Tom Cruise, oh, man, he's so emotional. We see that emotion because he's so intense. When Tom Cruise gets angry, oh, that's intense, right? Oh, he was so angry with Matt Lauer about the whole psychiatry, psychology, drugs things. Oh, Ben, you're getting it wrong. It's this drug. You can correct me if you want to. That's fine. It was quite a while back. Whatever. And the Scientology stuff, and the reporters asking about this stuff, and whatever. Tom is emotional. Is he? Oh, look, Tom Cruise is pretty level-headed, considering probably what's going on in his life. But, I mean, obviously he's not Spock. We have a character like Spock, partly because there's a lot of reasons why it worked really well. But, the whole Vulcan thing about losing their temper, I understand Star Trek lore very well. Oh, yes. One of my best friends when I was in high school, junior high and high school, was a Trekkie. I've heard it all. And I've heard it again with Mystery Companions and other people, other friends. Oh, yes. But we were all level-headed, and we were all emotional about things. And there are some people that have a great deal of self-control, but maybe it's just these certain subject matters where if you talk about them in a certain way, is this a question? Am I talking about what gets someone upset? Is getting upset? Is that something that we need to gain more mastery of? Is this a bad thing, or is this a thing that is it? I mean, what does my church think of getting upset about something? This is not a straightforward matter, in my opinion, because there are many people that are very desensitized and calloused spiritually, emotionally, that come off as very level-headed because they don't feel as deeply as they used to when they were closer to the Lord. Yeah, I said it. Oh man, but look, I'm just trying to say, try and talk about things as they really are. You have people that have lost a great deal of their feeling about life and other people because of being wicked on some level. That's a very real thing that many people don't seem to understand or get. But I understand that we're all trying to do better, hopefully, right? The more that one feels things, the healthier that one is spiritually, right? But feeling good things, but feeling things that are real. When you feel things that are real and good, that's an indication that something's right in you. But you want to strengthen that. You want to have it get stronger rather than weaker. You don't want to dull it. You don't want it to go away. You know the kinds of people that can't feel that way, that have lost sometimes all feeling. Those are some very dark individuals indeed. They're often who make some of our worst criminals. And not just criminals. Yeah, felons. It's not just that. So it's a complicated thing regarding getting upset or not. I think it's kind of a deal where we have more life experience with time, and we can kind of just understand things better and better with time. That's honestly how I think life works. And the more understanding we truly have, and the more that we use that understanding in a godly or good way, the more that it helps us to be able to manage not only times when we're emotional, but when we're level-headed, but also needing to be close to the Lord. Yeah. So is it better to be old than to be young? I think it's just a process of life. It's like we have to understand how life is. We all have to recognize that when we're younger, we have less understanding. When we get older, we have more understanding. That's part of the reason why we're here on this earth. We also don't, though, need to develop our characters, our moral characters. These are all things that we need to do to what? Well, there you go. That's the purpose of life. To become more like God. So, I don't know. Whether it's somebody that, you remember getting a scuffle with, and it really hurt your feelings, it hurt your body when you're younger, that to getting a divorce, to whatever it is. I don't know. I think we all need to seek to have that self-mastery more, where we can always be pretty level-headed, more in control of everything we need to be in control of, and then to the best we can, right? To the best of our ability. And then we also need to be seeking to strengthen our souls in an emotional way, or in a way where we can be more sensitive to things that are good and aware of those things, and not become calloused by the world. I didn't mean to get preachy here. Just, this is a lot of the meat. This is a lot of the meat of life. Is this very subject? So, leave the thoughts, comments below. Catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.